Welcome to What the World Needs Now, sponsored by Harmony Academy from National University. In this episode, Tom Wisenand and Josh Monroe talk with Olivia Leone, an inspirational fifth grade teacher who has taught all over New York and now teaches in New Jersey. Olivia is a member of the Harmony Academy Educator Advisory Group and is a staunch advocate for providing students with strategies to grow both the academic and emotional skills they need to reach their full potential.
All right, Olivia, thank you so much for being here with us tonight. For our listeners that don't have the privilege of knowing a little bit about you, could you give us an elevator pitch, a little bit about who are you, where are you from, and what's your role in education?
Yes. Hi. Thank you so much for having me. I've heard so much about both of you. So I'm so happy to finally be here and having a little chit chat. My name is Olivia Leone. I am originally from New Jersey. I'm a Jersey gal, and I have been teaching for 12 years and special education I've been doing special education for the past probably 10 in New York City, in the Bronx, in Brooklyn, in charter and public. And then finally, I was like, let's go back to Jersey. So now I'm back in New Jersey and in the suburbs teaching fifth grade general ed in an inclusive classroom. So I still am working with children with disabilities, but technically my role is the general education teacher. And I am just a huge CL lover of all. I think that if anything, the most I want to talk and preach and geek out about is SEL. So hopefully we could do that today.
There's a lot of people that kind of don't understand the power and importance of social, emotional well-being, life skills. So explain to us, people who may not be aware of the power of this, what it is, why is it so stinking important in education, and why shouldn't we limit it to like 15 minutes in the start of our day?
Yeah. So it really is just the overall teaching of social skills. And when it comes down to it, I mean, and this is like, I learned this all through Harmony and through getting a master's with Harmony. I mean, if it wasn't for Harmony, I wouldn't have found this like passion in me. So it was like 2021. I was at my charter school in the Bronx, and the counselors just like sent out an email being like, if anyone wants to apply to this award, like do it. And I was like, this looks cool. Ended up being a Northeast regional winner. All of a sudden I'm getting a master's in social emotional learning. And like, while I was doing it, I was like, okay, this is cool. Yeah, I like this. And then I was like, oh, this is affecting me as a human in my classroom, but also out. So like I did a study, and like the study was cool, but I realized when I stopped doing the study, I just went back to like those before behaviors of not being as patient with myself, with the kids, with like just friends. So that's like the background of like why like where this passion came from was really like learning about it and explicitly realizing it needs to be taught. Like just like any other core subject that is drilled into kids, social skills need to be taught. And when, you think about it, it's, people think like the soft skills of like your emotions and it's just about feelings, but it really is so much more. Like when you think about self-awareness, social awareness, management, relationship skills, communication skills. I mean, these are skills that kids need beyond the classroom. It almost like now I'm just like, everything is SEL, where when people try to put it in a 15-minute, like, oh, morning meeting, we did it, we're good. I'm like, no. So I get frustrated and like passionate, and I'm like, why are we talking about this more?
I do want to go down the road of why it is so important to not limit it, because I know that when I was early in my career, morning meeting that's where social emotional learning happened, and that was it. I didn't see the importance early on or maybe it wasn't that I didn't see it. I didn't know how to get into other parts, because as teachers, we're so pressured to drill curriculum into kids, get them ready for this test, get them ready for the next grade. Here's what they need to know. And I think sometimes we do lose focus of, if we really do want kids to do well, they have to have these life skills of being able to communicate effectively, of being able to regulate their emotions. And so I want to go down that road of talking about those. But you mentioned how you got your master's through National University for social emotional learning. And I don't think that that's something that a lot of people are aware of that's available, or the power that comes with it. So would you mind talking for just a moment about how that has helped you?
I mean, yeah. So it was, well, first it was during a time, it was 2021. My father was actually like sick, and I was training for the New York City Marathon, and I was in this course. And it was kind of crazy because it was like big things happening to me, like emotionally, physically, and now like educationally. I'm in this course that that really grounded me, like, because everything that the even though it was all remote, the assignments were never like tedious. Like, one, I remember they had I don't know if you've ever used Healthy Mind app, but it's like one of the assignments once was like, you're gonna record your like your thoughts after you use this app for like 2 weeks. And at first I'm like sitting on the subway, like, what am I doing? Like, what is this 5-minute meditation? And then it started to become a routine. And then I was like, starting to take what I was learning in that app, and I applied it immediately into my classroom, like with my kids. And again, after the 2 weeks, I stopped using it. I stopped having that time. I stopped bringing it into the classroom. So I think the courses taught me like consistency. Like, if you don't do it, you're not going to do it in your classroom. You're not going to do it in your life. It's like healthy eating in a way. It needs to be consistent. So I think that's a big thing that I learned, and just modeling. Like, I had to naturally do it and be vulnerable to like show that to them, that like, even today, actually, that happened to me where I was just like, I got off a IEP meeting. I had no prep today, like none. Someone asked me to cover. So and then I have to go right back into teaching. And so as soon as I come in, they're telling me something not so great. So I was just like, oh, not in a good mood. And I think the kids picked that up. And I was like, do you guys feel this energy? And they're like, yeah, like, what's going on? And I was like, I don't really know, but like, I'm not okay. I need a moment. And they were like, okay. And then this one kid was like did this motion. And I was like, what are you doing? And they were like, flip the pancake. And it's a thing I taught them, like, you can't let that pancake burn. Like, you got to flip it, shift that mindset, sit in it for a little. That's okay. But eventually, like, you gotta switch it. And that helped. And it was like, if I didn't model as consistently, they wouldn't have been able to help me. And I'm like, in that moment, I'm like, this is cool, because they're literally getting me out of this funk by what I provided for them.
I think that's huge when you can like model it for kids, but also, kudos for you for living it and being messy with that learning and emotion. And we hear all the time, these kids are so aggressive. These kids don't listen. These kids have all this stuff going on and they don't pay attention in class. Well, I'm not saying that giving these kids these social skills and emotional regulation skills will solve 100% of the problems in schools, but I'm going to go ahead and, just say it would probably do a lot if they have adults that are willing to and able to regulate and model what regulation is, and names to their emotions. Hey, I'm really agitated right now and I just need a moment. So excuse me, go about your work, and I'm going to take this moment, readjust and regulate myself, and then I'll be right back with you. And kids, they're pretty smart. They can pick up on that. Hey,
yeah,
Mr. Monroe, I'm not feeling all together right now. Can I have 5 minutes? Give me 5 minutes. I'll be right back with you. Okay, Mr. Monroe, and I promise I'll do my best work for you. Okay, man, go do your 5-minute thing. Come back to me.
Yeah.
That's really huge when we implement it, and then we allow the kids the power to use it. You know?
There used to be that saying, do as I say, not as I do.
Yeah.
Kids don't do that though, right? Like kids are sponges. They are going to absorb what we do as adults and then they are going to mimic it. So when they sit there and listen to an adult say, man, I'm having this tough time, and then they're there to help you because they've been taught those skills, it is such a powerful moment because teaching can be thankless. That's one of those moments that you sit in there and you're like, this is what it's for, right? Like I'm helping these
Yeah.
kids beyond some test, beyond what they're going to do in my classroom. Like these are skills that are going to help them be successful in life.
And it's so funny that you bring up both those things about state tests, because where I was before, it was, I mean, we would start that in September, and I'm where I am now. We're starting it now, and the test is in like 3 weeks. So my mind is like, whoa, like we're not teaching the test, which is, different, but it also has allowed me to just like have so much more joy. Like I genuinely like really love teaching. And even today, like I remember I did a introduction to volume, and I had something in my mind of what I wanted to do. But in the moment, I just like they were fading. It was like the last hour of the day. And I had all of these, like they were like 3D shapes. And I like picked one up, and I literally just like threw it out. Like I threw it to them because we were like all on the rug. And I was like, wow, I actually have enough for all of them. So I just started like throwing all these shapes, and it was so cool to see, like when I did ask the question a couple minutes later, every hand shot up. And it's like, those are moments where I'm just like, I need a camera, because like where you're like, wait, someone needs to see this in the hallway, like that every single hand is up. Like, that's why I want to be that's what I enjoy, where you're like, every kid may not do well in the test, but like the fact that every kid is like wanting to be here in this moment is just like, you can't put it into words. But just to keep going, if I can for a second longer, the espresso is hitting.
Yeah, that's right.
I have a joy jar in my room, and it's just a jar, but like every time there's a moment like that, that's like a joyous moment, anyone can write it down, seal it up, put it in the jar. Then we open it at the new year, and then we open it at the end of the year. So like we did like in January, and then we're going to do it again. But that was one of those. Like today I was like, hold on, everyone stop. I know we need to like have this math lesson, but like this is a good moment because every single person's hand is up. And those are the moments that, hopefully in the hard days I can keep with me.
Well, I think it's important too. Kudos to you. God, you're just doing everything right, because kids need to see what it looks like to be joyful. They need to see what it looks like to experience joy. They need to learn what it's like to celebrate humanity. So, man, kudos to you for really bringing that home and getting them to recognize, hey, everybody's doing what they should. Everybody's communicating effectively and making our classroom feel like the incredible space it should be. Let's celebrate. Good for you. Good
Thank
for
you.
you. Yeah, you've taught in New York, in New Jersey. Sounds like you've been all over. What got you into education to start with? What was your journey like?
I always wanted to teach. I was classified with a learning disability in kindergarten. Recently, actually, my mom just told me that like until I was 6, nobody knew what I was saying. Like I was like not really speaking. I had speech deficits. Like I was very quiet, and I was like, what? How did I not? No wonder why I talk so much now. I'm making up for those years. So, throughout college, I mean, I had services throughout college, anxiety, all the things. I would sit in my IEP meetings, she's not performing on grade level. And I didn't have confidence. And then I don't know where it was in my journey, but with teaching, like I found my voice and my passion and like my, myself. And I think so. Like that's why I did it. Like I went into education because of teachers I had, but also like knew that like I'm a very like empathetic, nurturing person that I knew I wanted to go into that field. I tried broadcasting for like a day in college. It wasn't for me. I was like, let me go back to talk about our feelings over here. I loved my experience in New York. I wouldn't be who I was if I didn't have that experience. But I feel like because I was there, I can appreciate such small everyday things, you know, like the resources that I have. I have this idea, like I planned an SEL day. I went to my principal, I had a day, and he was like, yeah, we don't need to do instruction for a day. Rock out. And I planned this like 8-hour day. And I'm like, what is going on? Like that they have this faith in you that, like, you know what, this is worth it. That, you know, we could put things aside to do this, and they believe in it too. And it's nice to see that, like, where I started and where I am now.
Olivia, I saw that you posted about your SEL day online. If people want to go and check out the activities, kind of see some things that you're doing with SEL, give us your Instagram handle.
Yes, it is actually SEL Liberate _learning. So like celebrate, but SELibrate. It's pretty new.
What was SEL Day? I want to know. Like 8 hours of it sounds amazing.
Yes. Think of like field day when you
That's
were
what
a
I'm
kid.
thinking.
Yeah. So, okay. I collaborated with my counselor, my school counselor. We would just literally geek out. Like she was like, I can't believe, like, why didn't we talk last year? And I'm like, I don't know, but this is wild. So, okay. It consisted of, so the school that I'm in, all fifth grade. So it's 16 classes of just fifth graders. Like they all go to,
How
I
is
know.
that like a New Jersey thing? That
No, it's
kind of
wild.
just now blown.
I know. So everyone goes, there's like 5 elementary schools in district, K to 4. They all go to the same fifth grade school to like mix with each other. And then they go to middle school.
Okay.
So the day consisted of, I brought my a yoga teacher that I absolutely adore, who was also a parent at the school like 2 years ago. Her child went to the school, came and did yoga throughout the day. So she taught like 8 40-minute sessions with 50 kids. And we had like a school local donate like 50 yoga mats. So that was cool. We had a harpist from the high school come and play. She's like a 10th grader. Then we had mats in like a space, and the kids like lay down, and the nurse is also like meditation and wellness,
Very cool.
you know, guru. So she did her thing there. We had 2 students. We kind of have like a student council. It's called Lighthouse Teams. It's out of Leader and Me. And they organized a anxiety group, like teaching about anxiety and strategies, and a group with problem solving. And this was wild. So it was a group of like 8 kids. They did a presentation. They practiced with me and the counselor, and they went to every period, every class, and basically taught. And I was like, are you sure you want to do this? You're going to miss out on the other things. And they're like, it's fine. We could do this. And I was like, okay. We did mindful journaling. We have an author in resident, Anna Crowley Redding, and she did a video like, you know, writing is so important. Journaling is a good strategy. Here are some prompts. And then they took their journals and did a grounding SEL in motion walk outside. And we had like cones where they would walk and like just do the 5 senses. I'm trying to think if that's everything.
Dude, that's awesome.
It
That
was-
is so cool.
It was so cool. And then for the teachers, we made like a whole, like the lounge. I had twinkle lights. We had like a whole spa vibe, like the music, coloring sheets, like no up lighting. Like it was all like very dim, chocolates. I made tickets on like Canva. Canva's amazing. And each teacher, it was like personalized. They had a picture of something they love that on one of the sides, and it was like, you deserve to take a break, 5 minutes. So that's like what I did with myself. I kind of I was like going to bopping around, giving teacher breaks. And it was just so great to see like the teachers were receptive. The administration was like, everything is so calm. And I'm like,
And I bet that those teachers walked away just absolutely filled. Their cup was full at the end of the day. Talk about a great way to help avoid burnout.
yeah.
And, you know, I have to imagine if I'm sitting here listening to this podcast, I'm sitting here saying, Olivia, this is awesome. I'm totally on board. I want to do this. But
Mm.
what if, obviously your administration's on your side with all of this, how can some teachers start a little bit smaller? Because SEL, a whole day of that can sound overwhelming to a lot of teachers. But when we implement it just in our class, how can we help some of those teachers that are just getting going or just learning about the importance of SEL through an entire day, not just the first 15 minutes? How can we help them? Do you have any resources that you would recommend or any ways to get going?
That's good. As you know, I love Harmony. So everyone start there. I think, when you go on the website, it could be a little overwhelming. And I think, like, if you're not doing morning meeting, that's a good place to start. Try one thing and be consistent with it. If that's like you're practicing getting into a circle and not helping kids form a circle and having everyone fit in, that's to start. Because it's so interesting how even in 5th grade, I have to be like, okay, go back. And now I just say, if everyone goes back, everyone can fit. And now if someone doesn't fit, I say, you need to problem solve. And they're like, guys, we got to go back. So I think it's even like that. Like, just start with like getting into a circle, saying hello. Simple as that is, the consistency, when we don't do it and something's off, they're like, we didn't do morning meeting. So that would be the first thing. Finding one thing that you want to do for yourself. Maybe it's a teacher that's like, I need to maybe stop every day for 10 minutes and we do like literally a meditation of like listening to music or not doing anything. That's outside of the morning meeting. When I got to this school, the teacher before me, I heard so much about her and she didn't leave anything. Like, the room was pretty bare, but like in the best way. And on the wall, there's a clock, and on the clock, it was an old clock, but there was also another clock, a new clock. And I was like, what's up with the old clock? Why is there paper on it? So I look up and it gave me like Ted Lasso vibes. It was a piece of paper and it just said in like really cool cursive writing, but like not like, trying hard, just like very like old school paper Sharpie. And it just said like, be here dash now. And I was like, I love this teacher. She's so cool. And I still have it up. And I think that's another strategy. It's like simple, like just be in the moment. And it's hard. Like, even the kids right now are working on very independent projects, which they love. And they have this book reader and the computer. And I'm on my computer while they were working. And today I was like, I feel like I haven't talked to any of you. Like, we're all so busy doing our stuff, which is great. And like, you need that sometimes. But I'm like, but is anyone here like talking to each other? So I think that like consistency, being present, and really just like being flexible to be vulnerable. Ooh, that was good.
Yeah, that's
Like
really
that.
good. Josh, that's something Josh does is a lot of times. He'll have games with his kids and he'll be there playing with the kids. He'll take his time instead of responding to emails or grading papers or shuffling whatever he's got to shuffle. He's down there. He's playing with the students. He's getting to know them outside of reading, writing, and arithmetic. And I think what you said is so true. We learn to be busy. We learn that we have to do work, and it's all important in the elementary school and 5th grade, high school. I totally get that. But man, Josh, how do you find that time, man? Like, how do you get there?
Dude, it took me a while, but one of the most important things that when I was student teaching that my cooperating teacher told me was that it's always going to be there tomorrow. No matter what you're thinking about, it'll be there. So be here. Kind of like what you're saying, be here then. And so ever since then, I've just always thought when I walk through that door or the bell rings, because I get to school an hour early so that I can get some of the other stuff done so that when kids walk in, I'm with them. They go to music and I'm playing on the glockenspiels with them. I have no idea what the music teacher's saying when he's like, all right, we're going to play A, B, B. I'm like, ding, bong, gong. And I'm there with them doing it, learning. And for me, it helps as well as like, gosh, these kids have been playing this one song on the glockenspiel for 5 years.
Yeah.
I can't do it. So like, it gives me the opportunity to be like, maybe this is what it's like when I'm trying to teach you how to find common denominators. Like it lets me pause and say, gosh, I need a little grace in this moment, just like you do in math. So it helps humanize, I think,
Mm,
everything, right? Like,
so cool.
so I've got a cooperating teacher right now, and he only comes 3 times a week. He's not student teaching yet, but I'm trying to get him to realize that too. Like, hey, we'll find a different time to plan, but we're going to be with the kids while you're here. Like, you might have to do some stuff, blah, 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 but
Right.
we're going to hang out with the kids. So yeah,
That's really cool.
Olivia, you have a lot of passion. Has there ever been a time in your career where like maybe you second guessed it? Maybe education wasn't right for you, or maybe like some of those days where you're dealing with thousands of that, maybe an over exaggeration, maybe of IEP pages you have to do and like go through and really like with a fine tooth comb make sure they're right. Has there ever been a time where you've really doubted yourself? And then how did you get out of that funk?
Yeah. So, two things that come to my mind were when I was in those like test taking settings, I would always think like, this is not what school should be like. Like, why am I doing this? And like, I'm not liking this. They're not liking this. And I was so new. And it was just like, I'm doing what my team wants me to do or what I'm being told to do. And it was so managed. I was like, there's no way I can do this for my whole life. I think that was a big one. And in that same school, I had a really hard first year. And I just remember this one student who had just a lot of hard things going on and would always like, just very dysregulated, would run out of the room and like out of classroom, reading instruction director person gave me this book one day. It was like a composition book and she like wrote a little letter on the front and it was just like, when you have hard days, like go to this book. And it was kind of like a T-chart of like do's and don'ts. And like, I loved it at the time, but then I stopped using it and I still have it where I sometimes go to it and I'm like, just write things down. So I think that when I've lost some motivation, the adults were there. But in that same grade with that same child where I was like, how will I make it through this year? I remember at the end of the year, we were in actually doing I don't know if it was a state test, but some sort of test. We were in a different setting and it was like, it was a small group and I don't know what happened, but he was angry and I was like, okay, this is not working. And he was like he was like doing something with an easel with like letters because it was like in a ELL room. And he was like, look, Miss Leone, and like kind of all like mad. And I was like, what did you do? And I turned and he wrote like, love you in with the little like alphabet letters. And I was like, oh, this is too much. I can't take this. So I think that when I've lost my like inspiration or groove, both adults and children kind of showed up for me, which, it's like, you get what you put in.
That's huge. That's really huge. Like kids are so amazing and students, I adjunct at a university here in Nebraska, Doane University. And I'd say students, doesn't matter if they're university students or elementary students, they get it. They do. They want to show and your relationship with them kind of flavors whether they show up or not. You know what I'm saying? And I think those relationships are really fundamental to getting what you give. You know what I mean?
I had today, I was that same counselor I did SEL. So after SEL day, we didn't see each other for a couple of days because we saw each other so much. And I was like, am I even teaching? I just keep meeting with you. So today I was like, oh my gosh, I haven't seen you in like a week. How are you? How is it down there? And we were talking and I was like, I just can't get over this class because like they were all working. And I was like, I've never had a class that, they're so motivated, like no matter and there's a range of abilities and no one, even the ones that are like fading of like being tired or whatnot are still like in it. And she was like, I mean, it's also a reflection of you. Like they want to do well because you gave them these like high expectations. And it was just like a nice conversation.
I think that that's an important thing that we always have to remember is that when we set the bar high for kids, they're going to rise to it. Like you put it low, man, they're going to sink down to it, but you will be blown away. At least I always am. The higher I set those expectations for them, they always rise to it. But it goes back to what you were saying. You got to be consistent with it. It can't be you just talk about it one time and expect it. It's got to be a consistent day in, day out thing to get them to that point.
Mm-hmm.
So kudos to you.
Thank you.
I like too that you were talking about the importance of surrounding yourself with certain people. Like the kids are why we're there, and they give us those why moments. I know that I've got some people have in their house like their sports memorabilia hanging and stuff. I've got some of my teaching stuff hanging, but it's also the adults that we surround ourselves with that help keep us in the game as well. You talked about how you were in that moment of this isn't what teaching should be like. And I remember having one of those moments too with Sarah Loberg, who became a huge mentor for mine. But back when Twitter was really big, like just getting started in the educational world, at least our district had finally opened it up that teachers could use it for their classrooms. She did a hashtag worksheets don't grow dendrites. I went and I asked her about it. I was like, what is this? And she's like, well, I'm just kind of, she still used them time to time, but I'm just kind of done with worksheets. Like they're not working for kids. They don't like them. They're not learning from them. And so I sat and I just observed her and I was like, oh my God, this is what teaching should be like.
Yeah.
When kids are hands-on in their learning, hands deep into it. And so just making sure that we surround ourselves with those like-minded, good people that want kids to love learning and growing.
Yeah. And it honestly like made me think of that lesson today, because especially with like math at the end of the day, like we have a great curriculum, great books, but you get so used to like that like routine of like, I teach, you do, we try, go do. And I'm like, this is so boring. Like you're just like solving problems and then moving on, or they're like solving problems and then going on the computer. And I'm like, is this all we're going to do? And so that's why it was so fun today and it feels almost wrong to be like, I didn't have that planned. Like that was not a plan.
That's when the best stuff happens.
And I'm like, what?
It is, though.
And then I'm like, wait, I need to go write this down somewhere. And I always think about that. Like these ideas, like, should I write them down for next year? Or like, am I going to lose it? But then I'm like, but I'm not. Or like, I'll think of something maybe better for that group of kids.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just the responsive teaching, I think, is phenomenal. I really do think that sometimes is where our best ideas come from. And it's not, I was looking in the teacher manual and on page T140 said to do activity 3. I was reading Because of Mr. Turrupt, and it's a book by Rob Booya. It's kind of old now, but in it, Mr. Turrupt does this activity with kids that I now always do. And it's how many blades of grass are on a football field. And that's all I introduce to kids. And they're like, what? 100 billion million. And I'm like, well, you're going to find out today. You have to do the math. And they're like, well, I'm not doing that math. But when you walk them through, it is like the best math lesson that we do all year long. It has nothing really to do with what we're doing in math, but they just get this cardboard and they cut a 1 centimeter by 1 centimeter square, throw out their cardboard around the field, count the blades of grass in there 10 times. And then we figure out how many of those 1 centimeter squares are there in a football field. Then we expand it, and they're just amazed that they can figure that out at the end. But it's one of those things like you talk about. It's not planned. It's not in our curriculum.
Yeah.
But it's what makes learning fun.
Right.
You know, another avenue that I think has really changed education is artificial intelligence. I know Josh and I are a huge fan of Brisk AI. I know Josh has used it with a character discussion. A teacher in my school just used it, had kids ask George Washington questions about the Revolutionary War, and the engagement was incredible.
Wait, what is it?
Yeah, so it's called Brisk AI, Brisk.
Okay.
And it's a Google Chrome extension. And it has revolutionized the way I plan. I'll use it in language arts, and I'll make readers' theaters for like different reading levels with number of characters that I want. So I can have, 5 scripts with 5 characters for my whole class. And it takes 2 minutes to create the whole class.
Wow.
Like, it is so powerful. And then Josh, tell us about the character that you did, because it is awesome.
Wait, I got a plan for tomorrow.
Yeah, right.
We're in the middle of the American Revolution as well, and so we're going to do it as we're learning about patriots and loyalists. I don't know which one we're going to use yet. Maybe Paul Revere and his Midnight Ride. But anyways, what you do is you put your objectives into it. Here's what I want kids to learn, and then they get to talk with a historian. A time travel historian is what my kids call it. But when we were learning about early colonial America, they were talking to, his name slips me now, but the governor of Plymouth. So when the first pilgrims came over, they're having a discussion with him about why are they here? What's the geography like? What does it feel like to be able to practice the religion you now want to, kind of a thing. And the engagement, like Tom said, just through the roof. And I'm going to throw one more out at you. It's called Notebook LM. And what you can do there is put in the information you want, the learning objectives, and it creates a podcast of two people talking back and forth.
Stop it.
Together. It is amazing. I wanted kids to learn based off of these 6 pages that we were supposed to read. Put it in there, and it created this. It was a 10-minute podcast, which is a little long for 5th grade. I mean, their attention span started to after about 3 minutes. So we had to pause it and then talk about it. But it also created like a study guide for it. So if I wanted to assign it to them, they could have this list of questions to go back to make sure the accountability piece for it.
At the end of every episode, Olivia, we always ask, what does the world need now? In the 60s, it was love. What does the world need now?
That's hard. What the world needs now is just educators who can go off script, be genuine, and I think going back to the vulnerability, be vulnerable and love what you do, because I feel like we need all the love all the time, and being open to conversations and, not going by the book. I want to show you something though too, because I wear my Little Words Project bracelets every day. And so I have Breathe, I have Defy Gravity, and I have Unstoppable. And a student of mine noticed I wore them every day, so she made me her own. So the ones she made me are on my other hand, and they say resilience, dream big, and love today. So maybe those are the 3 things that we need.
I like the love today.
I like the love today.
I might have to make my own bracelet with that.
Right? Love today. Just love today.
And it goes back to what you were talking about with that clock. Like, be here now. Like, if we wake up and we just love the day that we're in, and we love it for where we are and who we are and where we can go, how much better would this world be if we all opened ourselves up like that?
Totally.
Thank you to you and your student that gave us that inspiration.
Yes. Thanks, Caroline.
Olivia, thank you so much for giving
Thank you so much. I'll come back whenever you guys just can call me and I'll chat with you guys.
Ladies and gentlemen, that's our show. We're so thankful and appreciative that you took your time to listen to Ms. Olivia Leone on What the World Needs Now, sponsored by Harmony Academy from National University. Please be sure to follow What the World Needs Now on Apple Podcasts or wherever you download your podcasts. We hope that as you head out, you remember that the biggest factor that plays into student success is you. Your love, your passion, your empathy, your dedication is exactly what the world needs now. Thank you for all you do. Have a good one.